Hello and welcome to week 7. So this week is going to solely focus on your next assignment, which is going to be the health and safety observation. So I just wanted to take some time to show you what is in Canvas for you, explain how to go about doing this assignment and what my expectations are for you. So up to this point, we really have looked at children's health, and in this unit, we've been looking at safety, and that really is the entire purpose of this observation. So now that you have all of this information from the textbook and all of the additional resources that you've been using, now you're going to actually go out into the field to be able to assess a classroom and a center to see how they are doing regarding health and safety factors. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find a place to go conduct your observation. So for those of you who are in the early childhood program, you're definitely going to want to stick with an early childhood center. But wherever you decide to go, whether it's an early childhood center or if you decide that you're going to go into a different classroom, you want to make sure that at a bare minimum they are licensed. And so in the instructions, you're going to find a link where you can search to make sure the place that you're going is going to be licensed. I would definitely recommend trying to stay in that birth to 8 range, just because the indicators that are on the checklist are going to be found more in a classroom for children, again, birth to 8, than you're going to find when you look into like a high school classroom. So my recommendation is definitely doing an early childhood, but if you are in the early childhood program, then that's what's required for you. So when you look into this week's module, you're going to find the observation instructions, and I'm going to go over that, and where you need to submit your observation when you are done with it. And there's going to be 3 PowerPoints that I definitely recommend you reviewing before you decide where you're going and actually go out and do your observation, just because it's going to give you some additional information and it's going to help clarify some of the indicators on your chart. But if we go through the instructions, you're going to find that I've tried to lay it out pretty nice and clear for you, and so I'll go through each portion. So if we look at the instructions as well as the grading rubric, you're going to find that there's going to be 2 parts to this assignment. You're going to be filling out a chart, and then you're going to be writing a summary. So when you look at this, again, I told you it needs to be at least licensed. Here's the website that you can go to. You can search by zip code, you can search by facility name, but again, at a bare minimum, the place that you're going to do your observation should be licensed. So once you have decided where you want to go, then you need to contact the director or the principal and make sure that it's okay for you to come. You are only coming to observe for 2 hours. You are not going to be interacting with the children. You simply are going to be sitting and observing. And so most early childhood centers are very familiar with our students, and so they have no problem with this. But you definitely need to get their permission and approval before you go. So when you go, you're actually going to take a letter that I have provided for you, and it just simply is my way of introducing you and explaining what it is that you're going to be doing. One of the main things I always try and make sure to do is to let centers and schools know that we are not coming in to judge them, that this simply is just pure practice for you to be able to put visuals to what it is that you're learning about in your textbook. So you're not going to be sharing information except with me. So I try and make sure that this letter just lets them know that you're simply coming in to observe so that you can see in practice what you're learning about in your textbook. So when you go, you're going to take the checklist that I'll show you in just a second, and it'll probably take you about 2 hours to be able to fully complete the checklist, making sure to write down examples, things that you see, things that you don't see, things that you hear being said, if you need to ask questions to the teacher if you don't see something. So you can plan for around 2 hours to complete your observation. And then when you're done with your observation, you're going to type up the notes in your checklist, and then you're going to write a summary. And most of the time, summaries are anywhere between 2 and 5 pages, simply because of the fact that you're going to be looking at what did they do well, what did they maybe not do so well, and then what suggestions would you give to them so that they could improve upon the things that you didn't think were as great as you would have liked. So here's the rubric so that you are completely certain of what it is that I'm looking for. Definitely make sure that you type this observation. When you go in to do your observation, you're probably going to handwrite, but then you're going to need to make sure that you type it before you submit it. So again, if you look at those instructions, after you've chosen your site, remember you have the observation letter. And so this is going to, again, just give you a chance to show the teacher where, what it is that you're going to be doing. And it'll give you a chance for them to sign off that it is okay for you to come. And then you can go ahead and get started. For whatever reason, it's deciding not to open, but that's okay. So finally, when we get to the checklist, this is what you're going to be doing. So again, probably what you're going to do is you are going to print this out so that you can handwrite in these sections over here. But again, before you submit it, please make sure that you type everything. Please make sure that you fill in all of this information up here. So obviously student name is yours. Where did you go? That's kind of important because, again, I'm not using this information to judge or critique, but it is good for me to know some centers that are amenable to having students come in, and especially for those ones that are doing a great job, I love to be able to promote them to students. So what is the name of the program? The ages of the children. So if you're in a kindergarten classroom, if you're in a 3-year-old classroom, if you're in a 3rd grade classroom, what age were the children that were in there? What day did you go? And then what time were you there? This last portion is actually to indicate how high quality they are. So you need to either highlight or check or underline, do something to let me know which of these they have. So as I said, at a bare minimum, wherever you're going has to be licensed. But if you are in a center or a school that is considered high quality, whether they're NACCE accredited, they're participating in Virginia Quality, then I would want you to indicate that as well, just so that I know that. But then what you're going to do is you're going to look at each one of these indicators, and you're going to need to answer the questions that are there. I do not want a simple yes or no. I'm going to be honest and tell you that when I grade this checklist, I'm looking for as much detail as possible. I can only see what you write in here. So you need to be so detailed that I feel like I was sitting right next to you. So I can totally understand what you mean when you talk about the condition of the space. Is there enough space to move around? If the answer is yes, well then tell me why you said yes. If the answer is no, then why would you say there wasn't enough space? Did you see children that were falling all over each other? And so for each one of these indicators, that's what I want you to do. So write as much detail as you can so that I truly feel like not only I can see what you're seeing, but I can understand why you analyzed it the way that you did. So, and that's why it's important to view those 3 PowerPoints before you go do this observation, because it's going to kind of go more in depth with each of these so that you know exactly what you're looking for. So once you've gone in and done your observation and you've written your notes, then you're going to come back and you're going to type it. And then finally, really the majority of your grade is coming from your summary. And so there's three different things that you should be addressing. Again, what are they doing well? And this isn't just list the things over here that they did well. This is an analysis. You're telling me that they were really strong in this particular area because. So this is very important to make sure that you're putting in the examples to be able to defend why you said what you did. What did they not do so well? And again, give examples of that, things that you should have seen that you didn't, or things that you saw that you shouldn't. And then finally, what were some suggestions for improvement? So looking back at that area of improvement, what would you tell them if you were their mentor about how they can get better in those particular areas? So I would definitely start my summary with kind of an introductory paragraph of where you went, the teacher's name if you feel that that's necessary, the age of the children, just kind of general sense of how things were before you start getting into this section. And then it's always good practice to finish with a conclusion. So what were your general impressions? Would you say this was a great place that really did a good job of making sure that health and safety factors were taken care of? Or did you not? And what did you learn from it? So always use that concluding section to kind of summarize, and then you can put your personal reflections in there as well. So hopefully that explains the health and safety observation. The great thing is that there is no discussion board for this week. You've worked so hard up to this point that getting to this assignment, I really would rather you spend the week figuring out where you're going to go, making contacts. You do not want to wait until the last minute to get this done because then you're going to be rushing through it, and I promise I'll be able to see that in your work. So spend this week figuring out where to go, making your contacts, and putting it into your calendar. So have fun with this. Again, this is all about taking the information we've learned so far and putting it into practice and being able to look at a center, at a classroom, and discover how well they're doing with everything that we've learned so far. So have fun with it. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions, and I will see you in week 8.